Okay, folks, Captain Paul here, and today I really want to talk about the market this week and how brutal the market is and why. How did we get here? Why is it so bad? Next week, I really want to make a prediction on the market and see what's going on. And as you guys know, huge Captain Ron fan. If anybody watches the channel here, if anything's going to happen, it's
I don't even know if this thing is safe or not.
Well, best way to find out is to get her out on the ocean, kitty. If anything's gonna happen, it's gonna happen out there.
Out there, it's like one of the mottos of this channel. Lots of stuff coming into the new year. Anybody that follows this channel, you guys are going to see some huge, bold moves. I just talked about it in Patreon a second ago. I appreciate all you Patreons so much. 53 this year. My goal was to get 50. We got 53. It jumps up and down. It's 55. I get it. You know what I'm saying? But next year I want to try to get it up to 100. Just a bunch of stuff going on. I can't really talk about it. I talk about it more in the Patreon side of the channel, but some bold moves I can tell you, and we'll see what happens. You know what I'm saying? Anybody that follows the channel, you guys know that I'm a pretty ballsy guy, especially if you go way back, watching the channel even like 4 or 5 years ago, some of the off-road videos. I'm going to put one of my favorite off-road videos right here just so you guys can go back and see what I was doing, let's say even 4 years ago. Because I think this channel really does incorporate my whole life and what's going on with it and stuff like that. Anyway, the boating market, why, how did we get here? And then next week I'm going to make a prediction, as my 2024 prediction of where the market's going to go. So what happened was, and this is, looking back at all of this, the COVID came in, and this was 3 years ago, and these boats, everybody thought they wanted to own a boat because you couldn't get out of the country. So there was a lot of money coming into the space, and people were buying boats at just stupid, ridiculous prices, and that drove the prices up. I mean, I've talked to some people that literally paid like $230,000 for a 3900 main ship. And I'm thinking, oh my God, it's for a 30. It's not even a 400. It was a 3900 main ship, and they're bragging about it like it was just the steal of a lifetime. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, that's horrific. You know what I'm saying? And the boat was not in pristine shape. It needed. He was telling me, he spent like $20,000 in repairs, and it still needed more repairs. And it was just lack of maintenance and stuff like that. And while I'm talking about that, let's back up for a minute, and this should explain some of the market. So like we, at Little Palm, we own, I don't even know, it's like a little over 20 boats. Like we have 5 main boats. We have full-time mechanics. We have 1 full-time mechanic, a part-time, and then a full-time yard guy that just works on these boats 100% all the time. They dedicate all the time for it, and that's what it takes to keep this fleet going. So we do it at an expense of, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to pay all these salaries and for parts and stuff like that for these boats. Southern Estate last year, this is Southern Estate, the 50-foot boat that I'm on right now. Me and Pete spent about $30,000 getting it ready to go to the Bahamas. And it seems like that's about the number that we spend every single year on this boat to keep it maintained properly. That's the engines maintained, overhead, doing 1,000-hour services on the engines, keeping the generator going, maybe a new dinghy. That's what was bought last year, added a solar system, upgraded, a few things and stuff like that. But it doesn't take long to spend $30,000, and a lot of these recreational boaters don't understand that. So in COVID, they drove the price up, they paid too much money for the boats, and then they don't maintain them. And that's the market that we're in right now. So you got a lot of boats out there with just tons of neglect. One of the boats that we're looking at is a 44 Tollycraft. Mike's looking at it, and he went to the boat wouldn't even make it from the marina over to the pullout, for the survey. It wouldn't even run. So it's like, it's just ridiculous. A lot of these boats have just sat in the slip, just complete neglect on them. And then, some people have passed away, some people, and then the wives are dealing with it. And then they think, they get the brokers tell them the boat is worth all this money. And it's really just a neglected boat that's not worth all that money. And that's what happened. One of the boats that I walked on last week was it's a 1989, 62 foot. It was a Marine Trader, the same as this one. And, it was like putting lipstick on a pig is what it kind of reminded me of. It was like, oh my God, you know what I'm saying? Like, where would you even start on the projects? And what it's going to take. And when you buy these boats, if you're not going to put the money into them, like a Lloyd's of London boat, let's say an expedition yacht, those boats have to come out of the water every 24 months, and they go through an extensive 90-day overall. Same with these commercial boats. All of these boats, they come out of the water every year. The bottom's painted, the engines are gone through, the generator's gone through, and at an expense of over $100,000. Same thing with these big yachts, like these 40, 50, 60, 70 foots. Like, to maintain a $5 million Fleming a year, which I don't know this number, but I'm going to say it's in excess of $100,000 a year. And a lot of these just average recreational boaters, A, they don't have the money, and B, or the time, and then they get involved in this and they don't understand that, how bad saltwater corrosion is on everything. And then, you got to get down there, you got to spray it, you got to clean it, you got to clean your coolers, you got to replace your coolers, and, it gets very, very expensive very, very quickly. I keep my boat maintained. Like, I keep the bottom scraped every week, once a month. Some people don't do that. You just let the growth grow, and when you go down there, it takes a shovel and a pitchfork to get that stuff off of there. And it's just, they don't want to spend the $200 a month, that I have to spend for a diver to go down and keep the bottom clean. And in the saltwater, I think in the freshwater, I think you're fine without doing it. But in the saltwater, I don't want barnacles growing on the bottom of my boat. So I go down and I pay a diver to scrape those barnacles off. And then a bottom job on one of these boats, let's say at a cost of $10,000, that bottom job has to be done. If you go ask any boatyard, they'll tell you 18 months. It's not even 24 months. Now, you can get away, a lot of these recreational, with 3 years. But what happens is when the copper comes out of the paint, then it just makes for an environment for everything to stick to the hull. And then when you get one that's neglected and it gets too far, it can do some damage to the hull. So you got to be careful with that. Anyway, I hate being so negative, but it's just where we're at in this market. And to find and navigate it and find a good boat. Mike was down in Florida last week while I was on the 62-foot Marine Trader. He was down on the other side of Florida looking at, he went and looked at up in Stewart, Florida, and Alexander. He opened the freezer door, and he goes, the refrigerator in the freezer doesn't work. So he opened the door, and it's just molded. They couldn't even clean out. They were asking an outrageous amount of money for this boat. It smelled like raw sewage. And, just the mold in the refrigerator. I'm going, he goes, why would anybody even list the boat or even, and it was for sale by owner. And it was just ridiculous. Maybe a broker would have, had the owner at least clean out the refrigerator. I don't know, though, because the boats are no better with the brokers. A lot of these brokers, got rich in that COVID era. And I'm talking filthy rich, especially the good and the big ones. And then, now it's time to run for the hills because now it's getting rough again. And, they got to sell the junk that they resold and try and get some of the money, recoup some of the money, and they can't. And that's what's happening today in this environment that we're in now. And a lot of it stemmed from people just paying too much money for the boats. A boat is not an appreciating asset. It's a depreciating asset. Fiberglass doesn't last forever. Steel doesn't last forever. Engines don't last forever. All of these stuff have to be maintained. to a level. Like, just imagine, like, if you're flying in an airplane, do you want your motor maintained, or do you want it to die out on you? Well, it's the same thing on a boat. There's no difference between an airplane and a boat. I mean, you're out in a very dangerous environment, and your engines need to be maintained constantly over the year. I mean, it's not just turn the key and go. And a lot of boats have been neglected like that. And it shows when you walk in the engine room. There's some tall tale signs when you walk into an engine room. And you can just see the blatant neglect. Very, very few people will go in, buy a boat, and change all the coolers. It's the first thing I do when I buy a boat. I just walk in. I don't care. I really don't care unless I know you got documentation saying that this oil cooler's been changed, this transmission cooler's been changed, and the main cooling system is done. I'm doing it myself because I don't trust them, and I don't want to have any problems out there. And that's at a great expense now to do, like even my Ford Lehman's right here. That's probably about $5,000, $2,500 an engine. That's just buying the parts. That has nothing to do with labor or anything like that. If you're paying the labor on it, it's probably somewhere around for each engine, probably $5,000 an engine, so it jumps up to $10,000. And a lot of people don't spend that money. I'd say most people don't spend that money. So trying to find that boat, that was maintained, it has the new coolers on it, I would say that's about 10% of the market. The other 90% of the market, you just got that recreational boater out there. He bought the boat. His broker didn't tell him, that, hey, this is going to cost you a ton of money to maintain this and get this boat up to, running standards. And then you got that 10% of the people that automatically do it, like me. And there is a few of us that do it because I know, Jim on the 3900 Mainship, man, I think he pulled that thing going around America's Great Loop. He had it literally pulled out of the water 3 times, get bottom zincs. He changed the coolers. He did the 1,000-hour service. For him, it was just the maintenance of taking the Mainship around America's Great Loop. And he did it at a cost to himself. He lost all that money. I mean, he didn't regain it. But a lot of people don't do that stuff. And then they just pass it on to the next buyer and the next buyer and the next buyer. And then next thing you know, we're into a market like we have now where there is 90% of it is junk, 10% of it. And those boats you'll never see because they never really make it. And Jerry's is a perfect example of it. If it does make it to the broker, which it may, it'll be sold within 30 days. Somebody will pull the trigger on it and buy it in 30 days. And that's why a lot of people will never see boats like that because they're sold very, very quickly. Even, in this market right here, when you got something super, super clean, all the maintenance is done, all the 1,000-hour service is done, new refrigerator, new ACs, new all this, they go very, very quickly in this market. So anyway, next week I want to talk about, my prediction, where the market's going to go for 2024. I think it's a great end of the year video. I want to say thank you guys. I appreciate the Patreons this year. Again, we did, my goal was 50 Patreons. We got 53. I think we got to a high of about 55. I've lost some come, some go, and I get it. Anyway, this year I'm going to work on it. I want to try and do another 50 Patreons to get the channel up to about 100 Patreons. I think that's a good goal to do. And we got a lot of new stuff happening next year. I'm going to make some bold moves. Some of them could be involved selling Southern Estate. Some of them could be involved in chartering Southern Estate. I got somebody who wants that possibly we could take the boat down to the BVIs. And so we'll see. There's just so much going on, and I got to be very, very careful with it all because I am older, 61 years old. Anyway, I appreciate you guys throughout the entire year. A lot of bold moves last year. You saw us leave. We spent the first 3 months just out on the boat. I think there's going to be another section of that this year going forward. But if I ended up selling Southern Estate, then I don't know how that'll works out. But I've been negotiating also possibly taking a captain's position on somebody else's boat that wants to do quite a nice journey actually. So anyway, who knows what's going to happen. I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be our biggest year ever. I think there's going to be a lot of boating. I think there's going to be a lot of big changes. And, thank you guys so much. I do appreciate it. Make sure you're stopping by here. If you guys, anybody that gets down to the Keys here, come by, shake our hands. If we get a chance, we'll take you out. Pete did a fish fry. Gary and his wife, just so much fun having them out here. Dana and Gary, and then they brought some friends out. And then right now I have Harold and Karen here, all just YouTube subscribers. And we just have so much fun whenever you guys come out, because if we do take the boat out, your crew, you are the crew of the boat. So, and the wind's blowing and the slip is tight. Anyway, peace out. Happy holidays. Thank you so much. I do appreciate it. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good day.